So it struck me that the Reverend was so progressive, and yet they'd hired him to lead that flock, and they were so not progressive. They all seemed quite controversial, quite conservative, particularly as it was around this issue of race. But in general, it was like, oh, let's do all this slowly, and yet they have this leader who seems to be really wanting to push things. Did you ever
Well,
talk to
you
them
may
about the
remember
process?
when President Eisenhower selected somebody for the Supreme Court by the name of Earl Warren,
Yeah.
who did not turn out to be the Republican that Mr. Eisenhower had hoped he was putting in the court.
Yeah.
I think those people just assumed he was the son. Bill Youngdahl was the son of Luther Youngdahl, a very famous judge in Minnesota. So I think they felt very comfortable. And no, I remember my first meeting with Bill because I was looking. I told the church, I said, I don't want to do a film about how terrible Southern people are or urban people are. Or, I'm not interested in how terrible people are. I think anybody who has eyes to see and ears to hear knows how terrible people are, including if they look in the mirror. So
True.
I'm not interested in that. I said I'd like to find some place where there's a struggle, but not craziness.
Mm.
And they said, well, we do have a minister in Omaha who came from an integrated church in Orange, New Jersey, and who's now in an all-white church. So you may find that's a potential. Oh boy, yeah, yeah. But the goal was never, and this is a tough one. The goal is never to try and manipulate the situation to prove your point. That's not for me.
Mhm.
And I think it is. I had another friend who said, I know exactly what's going to happen here in California. I'm going to do this film on these hippies and show how terrible they are. And I said, how are you going to know? He said, well, I'll just pick the things that show they're terrible. I said, well, yeah, that's one way of doing it. But I wasn't trying to prove anything about anybody. I was trying to understand everybody. And my favorite audience was in Omaha, Nebraska. I usually say about 5 years ago, it was probably 15 years ago. A young Nigerian girl got up afterward and she said, this isn't a film just about race. She said, this is a film about how hard it is to change the way you see somebody else. And I thought, wow, did you ever get it?
She got it.
Yeah.
She sure did.
And then let me just talk about one screening. So we did have a screening in Omaha, in the Civic Center in the center of Omaha. Big screening, thousands of people. And Ernie, the African American barberist, came up to me afterward and he said, I was all right, but he said, I wasn't very good. Ernie, come on. You don't really believe that.
Tough
But
crowd in Ernie, right?
I did.
It's a great segue because I actually wanted to talk about that sequence with him.
Which
Because
one?
the very first, where
In the
we're first
barbershop?
introduced to him in the barbershop.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, my goodness, you just launched right into Ernie. And you're thinking, this guy cuts hair? Like, when's he going to go, be a
Well, I
senator or
cheated on
something?
that in two
Uh,
ways. One, I
okay.
never told Bill Youngdahl that the barber he was about to meet was a graduate of Creighton Law School.
Ah.
That was unfair. But the other thing, which was not unfair, is typical of the way we work. In that sequence, as I shot it, and it was all shot with one camera, my camera, and Barbara did all the sound, and you can imagine the moving around she had to do with
Yeah.
recording sound for 12 people in a room. Um, but when we filmed that, Bill Youngdahl, being a bright and caring and loving young man, had answers to everything. Not answers, had legitimate responses to everything that Ernie Chambers said. And they're not in the film. So I said to Bill, this is what I believe is the truth. It's what I call the big T,
Mm.
not the little t, which is the facts. You know what the facts were. You had good answers. You showed how much you cared. You showed how much you were committed. We cut them all out. Because I said, as far as I was concerned, that was not the big T. That
Mm.
was not the truth that had. But I said, it's your life and I'm cutting it up. I want you to tell me if you feel uncomfortable. So, no, you got the big T.
So it struck me how unself-conscious everybody was as you were filming them. And I
I
always,
work at that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I work most at. I really want people to understand that I am not there to exploit them. Now, I know every documentarian says he's here just to tell the truth, so
Right.
that doesn't help. But somehow, if you convince people, and I work very hard to make sure you understand, and I will, for instance, in the sequence in which Ernie and Ray Christian are talking with the dentist and with the woman who proclaims how hard it was to get white people to listen, in that little sequence, when we first got together, I arranged, of course, I arranged a lot of things. I have no shame about that. I mean, Bill would never have gone to meet Ernie Chambers. No reason he would have done that. So I arranged it. Uh, so that I'm willing to do, but I'm not willing then to set up anything or alter anything. Anyhow, so in the sequence of in the church, it was in the church, where they're talking about is he a minister who follows his teaching of Christ, and if he does his church like him? Ha ha ha. Um, they first started out saying nice things to one another.
Hmm.
They wanted to show how loving and caring they were. I put the camera down and I said, I don't have film to waste. So if you guys want to have a little social, be my guest. Go ahead. I'll arrange for coffee to be brought in, but I'm not going to film it. And it took
Okay.
about 30 seconds after that they started talking.
They started really talking. Yeah, even the board meetings, it felt like they were all just sort of being very very candid. How did you develop that? You say you worked hard on that. What are the
Well,
tools that
first
you
place,
employ?
the instant I get there, I let it clear that I want to know about them. I don't if they want to know about me, I'll tell them. But I'm not important. The other people are important. What do you want to know? What do you want the world to know about you? And if you get real believers like those people were, they really believe what they said. When that woman said, "I want God to have everything they have. I just don't want to be in the same room with them." It wasn't an attempt to be. That wasn't anger. That was just a declaration. That's who I
That was
am.
your truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, and I just make it clear. I really am not interested in you saying what you think I want to know, because in the first place, in all honesty, I probably don't know what I want. Um, all I want to do is try and tell an honest story. And it is true that I did not force that minister to get kicked out, but I'm a pretty good prognosticator about what will happen. And that's what you have to be if you're going to do cinema verite. It's more than a crapshoot. I mean, you're laying your life on the line, and you don't know what's going to come over the hill. The cavalry to accept you, or the ISIS to bomb you. I mean, it's a tough call.
So does it surprise you that the film has such resonance still to today and such relevance still to today?
Well, no, it doesn't surprise me. As a matter of fact, I've watched, as we all have, the arc of this country and the fact that racism never went away, never going to go away. We're only going to find a better way to acknowledge it, live with it, and try to mitigate its consequences. And so wanted to do a film about people who were struggling with their own understanding of who they were and who the stranger was,
Mm.
which is really a kind of biblical story.
Hmm.
So I wasn't interested in fire hoses or police dogs, or I could have had him talk about how terrible Negroes, as he said then, were being treated at that time and showed the footage. But I didn't want to lecture film. I didn't want to lecture to people. I wanted people to have an existential encounter of how difficult it is to see people who are not like you, who you experience as a threat. The threat that woman felt, so she didn't want to be in the same room with them, the naivete or denial that man felt when he said, I had a Negro in my gym class
Mm.
or swim class. That's how the man who was president in the White House today got there. Denial and fear. So it's powerful, powerful, powerful motivation. And that's why I think the film is tragically relevant. And I hope schools, if anybody's out there has anything to do with school or college, I get no money from this, unfortunately, but I don't, and I don't care. But I would love to have this film shown in colleges and universities. I'm not really conscious of any of it. I mean, I saw the classic documentarians, the British documentarians and everything. I just sort of did it like Barbara did the editing, and the sound is. I picked up a camera and I like shooting, and I did have an eye. I thought I'd do as a painter, but I don't remember being conscious of anybody's style at all. I just wanted to tell the truth and be fair with the people who took the risk of standing in front of my cameras and being themselves. And I love the process. I love the process because I don't have to hide anything from anybody. I mean, it's true. I didn't tell Bill I was taking him to see a barber who was a graduate of Creighton Law School. That's true. But, that's all right, isn't it? I think so. No, but will tell if I do anything like edit the film, the sequence in a very different, significantly different way. I will get the person who was involved in that and say, "Is that okay?" Would do that. God forbid he would have said, "Oh my God, don't do that." I don't know what I'd have done. About 50 seconds. Yeah, no, really, before you go in, you have to, you have to be presented by somebody else or present yourself in a way that is non-threatening. That is, I am here to hear you. When people would come to me and say, what do you want me to say? And I'd say, if I knew what I wanted you to say, I wouldn't tell you. Because if you know what I want you to say, you'll say it. And to me, that's lose-lose. I don't want to hear what you want me to say. I want to hear what you want to say, not what you want me to hear. So, no, it doesn't take. And incidentally, remember, this is 50 years ago. And the audience is people are a lot more sophisticated. I think that those of you who are currently doing cinema verite or whatever it's called now, I don't know, it's probably harder to get people to be so. But I'm not sure. I always pick people for whom what they're about is more important than the dopey movie that I'm trying to make. What they were about in the church was more important to them than that I was making a movie about them. They wanted to protect the church. That's what they were thinking about. They weren't thinking about making a movie. And I think if you make films about people who have a genuine agenda, good or bad, doesn't matter, you will then get access to their world because you are helping them be who they are to the larger world. Hey, I thank everybody for coming.
It's a great nugget to end on. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone.